What's up, duelists? Sometimes I'm trying to do a video, but I'm feeling a little bit uninspired, so I go and watch some people's games. And today I just happened to watch a game by the man named Stango. You may know him from competitive Super Smash Bros. Melee. He's a very strong Melee player. I believe he's been ranked at least top 100. I'm not really sure what his ranking is, but he's very powerful in that game. He also is a big Edison enjoyer, and he's been hitting the gym. I hopped into one of his games just to check out what was going on, maybe see if I could steal some ideas, and then we ended up playing 3 matches after I watched him play against Anon 777. Now, the 3 matches I played 3 different decks, 2 of which are decks that I put in S tier on my tier list video, so I get to showcase some cool stuff, and I think there's some really big takeaways from these 3 matches that I think are really good, especially if you're trying to improve your play. Like if you feel like you're decent, but you want to level up to the next play, I think there's 3 really big takeaways from these matches that we'll go over after I showcase them. Okay, first things first, I hop into this. I'm watching Anon 777 versus Stango, and we're just vibing. Sometimes I just hop into people's games. I just be checking them out. It looks like Stango's on the Gladiator Beast list that just topped the PS5 tournament, the Sean McCabe list. Sets hop limit, sets D prism passes. Opponent goes summon green. Grab red, attack. I'm assuming, yep. That's going to hit the hop limit. The hop's going to be able to tag. I wonder what he grabs. He grabs Murmillo to pop the gadget. That's safe. I think you have Tiger to tag it out. You have Cold Wave to deal with the back row. You can even Cold Wave Geyserist do some crazy shit here. So, yeah. Okay, Torrential is the set from the Glad player, or from the Gadget player, which is a pretty good set, but I would have maybe considered also setting the bottomless, especially because the Glad players nowadays are on like double Starlight, triple Torrential. I would have also maybe considered only setting the bottomless. Now your hand's actually pretty bad. Gores is pretty shit against Glads. The Gadgets are pretty bad if they ever find Chariot. So your hand's actually pretty bad. It's probably best just to commit both removal spells. Goes ahead and attacks for 800, tags out, grabs Laquari. This is going to eat the Torrential, which, if you're Stango, you're completely fine with this. Now, if I was Stango, what I would have considered doing was actually going Cold Wave, Test Tiger, Secutor, and then just like setting up an unlosable position with Heraclinos and like 4 cards in hand would have been really good. I think, at least, maybe, because opponent's locked under Cold Wave. What are they going to do? Summon a Gadget? And that's it. And then on your next turn, you could summon Darius, and then you just crush your opponent. So I probably would have done that, considering that the opponent had like just 1 back row. And if you can lock it there in place, then you're not even really afraid of anything like Gores or whatever. So if I was Stango here, I would have Cold Waved and gone for the Secutor. You just get your pluses where you can get them, get value out of your Test Tiger and your little Murmillo guy when you can get it, that sort of thing. Anyway, it doesn't really matter. Here comes the Darius main 2. Now, I don't love summoning the Darius here. Again, also, because you're just exposing it to the spot removal spells that these gadget decks normally play a ton of. You have no way to protect it. It is your only Gladiator Beast that can tag. You kind of want to hold on to it, and then next turn maybe Cold Wave, and then you can get an attack or something like that. At this point, once you've already decided not to Cold Wave into Secutor this turn. In any case, he does what the gadget player does best, draws another gadget, which is hilarious, sets bottomless and just passes. There's really not much you can do from the gadget perspective here. I mean, the game's just fucking over. Here comes the Cold Wave. Here comes the Prisma. This sends Bestie. Here comes the Test Tiger. This tags out into Darius. Now, I don't love this play because it does play hard into Gores. Again, something you got to be careful of in Edison format, especially when your opponent's been pretty conservative with how they're playing their back row and whatnot. And then I also don't love this play because you don't really care about the back row all that much, and you have a dude that can already run over the gadget. Just make Secutor and get your huge plus off. You attack over the gadget with Darius. You attack directly with Secutor. You get Bestie. You pop the back row. You get the other thing. You end with like 2 more cards that way. This way you're just like kind of ending low on cards, in my opinion. Anyway, here comes the Gores. It's not going to be good enough though. This is going to grab Murmillo. No, it's not. He's actually going to go for Heraclinos. Interesting. I guess it makes sense. Heraclinos is just bigger than the Gores and the token. Oh yeah, he is going to get Murmillo off the Darius. Of course. I'm misremembering. This pops the Gores. Here comes Heraclinos. Passes the turn. Here comes Caius on the Heraclinos. Ooh, big top deck for the gadget player here. This is pretty crushing. And you're locked under your own Cold Wave. Now, I talked in the Glad Beast video yesterday why I dislike Cold Wave, and this is exactly why. look at this situation. This Caius is now a serious problem. You have absolutely no outs to it outside of like a slow call test tiger game plan, which just gets blown out by a lot of different things. Can't activate the D prison because of cold wave. Takes 2400, passes the turn. Here comes Laquari and then passes the turn back. Obviously, you have to have that D prison set. Now, if I'm Stango, I'm also setting Mirror Force. The gadget decks, you know, sometimes they play Heavy Storm, but they're just as likely to play MST or something like Breaker the Magical Warrior as they are Heavy Storm. And in most cases, they're actually playing more copies of the spot removal spells than they are playing the sweepers. So I would have set Mirror Force and Call the Haunted as well and just said, fuck it, you don't have Heavy Storm. He hasn't played Heavy Storm thus far this game. He would have to draw it in order to play it. So I think that you definitely want to set your 2 other back row and set up for that Test Tiger play next turn. The way it stands this turn is your opponent can just pass and you still can't do anything because you haven't set up for the Call of the Haunted into Test Tiger game plan. So here comes a gadget. That's going to search another gadget. Is he on 3 of each gadget? We don't know. We don't know yet. But all the gadgets should be out of the deck if he's only on 6. Now attacking here is fucking weird. I don't like this play at all if I'm the opponent. I actually don't even really like summoning the gadget. You're kind of putting your opponent on having no other monsters in their hand, which they didn't play any other cards last turn, so they obviously have at least one other monster in their hands. So I don't like this play at all. I don't really like summoning the gadget. I don't really like attacking. You don't need to do that. You can just let your Caius chill, set the D prison. You don't even also have to set the D prison, but I feel like you should. You should bank off of like the opponent's outs being like Book of Moon, that sort of thing. Because if they have Bestiary, you lose anyway. In any case, there's a D prison. Sets the D prison. Here comes Mermillo. Didn't shuffle. Ends up picking up Starlight, which is pretty good. This is an interesting play. Attacks with the Laquari. Again, if the Call of the Haunted had been set, you could just like do some crazy shit with the Test Tiger, but alas, here it is. And also, if the Call of the Haunted had been set, you could swing double Laquari into Mirror Force pretty safely, and then if it gets Mirror Force, you just call one of them, run over the gadget, and you're still fine because you E-Quest, get back the other one. So, yeah, definitely wanted to set the Call of the Haunted on that turn, just behind tempo here. D Prison's going to remove this Laquari, and here comes a set 3. Now, there's that breaker that I was talking about, but at this point he found Starlight, so he feels safe to set all his back row. So this breaker is a little bit awkward. It's good enough to run over the Laquari, but that's going to play into the Mirror Force, unfortunately. So he's going to summon the breaker, I'm assuming. Yep, activate the effect to gain a counter, attack, lose everything to Mirror Force, pass the turn. And now Call of the Haunted should be lethal here. No, it's not lethal. What? No, it should be game, right? Wait. What? I don't get it. His opponent's at 600. You have a Test Tiger in your grave. Just call the Test Tiger. Attack directly. Am I missing something? Alright, in any case, a little bit of a miss lethal there. Sets Red Gadget, sets to Wind Blast, and passes. End-phase Call of the Haunted. Target the Test Tiger. Cute. I like this play. Play around Royal Oppression and that sort of thing, but should have just gone for game last turn. In any case, attacks the set monster. Here comes a Wind Blast on the Laquari, and there's Trap Stun for that, and that's GG. Okay, game 2. Game 2, we've got Stango going second. We've got Anon 777 going first. Revealing Plague Spreader in his deck. This is an interesting tech. I also think Magic Cylinder is interesting, but not in this matchup at all. I think it's pretty bad to have non-impactful battle traps in this matchup. Even regular battle traps are already pretty bad because of Geyserus and Bestiary pops and that sort of thing, but these non-impactful ones are especially bad. Summon Gadget, sets the Cylinder and passes. Doesn't set the Typhoon. Interesting. Probably wants to play around Heavy Storm, but yeah. Here comes Prisma Tiger. This is the game plan. No Prisma Tiger, just Prisma Attack. Huh. Interesting. I would have maybe used the Tiger, but maybe not. I guess, like, what are you doing with the Tiger here? Food for thought. I feel like summoning Rediari setting 2 isn't bad either. Because, like, if he summons another gadget, you just Chariot it, and if he attacks, you just deprison the gadget, and then all of a sudden you're just winning. I don't know. There's a bunch of different lines here. I might have gone for the Tiger, though, just because I'm crazy like that. In any case, here comes the non-impactful battle trap, and if you're Stango, you're probably just like, Omega lol, nice Magic Cylinder, bro. Just sets the D prison because the Chariot isn't live. I respect that play. but it's going to get popped by Space Typhoon here, which is just unfortunate. Now, Deep Sea Diva is not one that I like going for here. The reason I don't like going for it is you have to go Mistworm now, which is silly. I would have grabbed another Diva and made 6 into 8 for Stardust. Stardust is much better against Gladiator Beast. It's very difficult for them to deal with, especially when you have back row like Deep Prison to back it up. Or I would have maybe gone for Caius, just banish the Prisma. But yeah, I definitely would not have grabbed Gilman because Laquari exposes it. Attacks the Prisma, goes ahead and decides to take it. Again, a very bad play here. You definitely don't want to leave defense position monsters in play for the Gladiator Beast deck to tag off of. Deep Prison is going to get set and the turn's going to get passed. However, this position is pretty bad. I actually think Stardust plus Deep Prison is much more secure than Prisma plus Gilman plus Deep Prison. In any case, here comes Gladiator Beast Ready Ari. It's going to attack the Prisma. It's going to eat a Deep Prison, and we're going to go to game 3. So yeah, I think there was a bunch of different ways that game could have played out, especially in the opening there. You kind of just have to understand when you're playing the Gladiator Beast deck that you need to get your Chariot down to prevent them from like streaming their monsters. And if they're spending a Smashing Ground on your Ready Ari, spending cards on your Ready Ari, you're pretty happy about that, all things considered. This game looks like Anon is left in Trap Dust Shoot. This is not a great card in Gladiator Beast matchup, but given the way Stango's been playing, where he's been setting one back row, playing around Heavy Storm, Trap Dust Shoot's actually not that bad for Anon to leave in. Opening hand here is actually fucking insane from Stango. He can just set Trap Stun. He doesn't need to do anything else. I'm assuming that's what he does. Yep, he sets Trap Stun and just passes. Here comes a Gadget Summon. This is going to search for Green Gadget. Now, this Trap Dust Shoot's going to be really good when it does resolve. But Trap Stun is incredibly good here, protecting it. And now, Stango has the world to work with. He can special Cyber Dragon. He can make a Chimera Tech. He can do all sorts of stuff. Basically force Anon to use a Wind Blast while it's negated to even drop the Gores. And then just blow up the Gores main phase 2. So what I really like doing here, if I'm Stango, because the Bestiary is in hand, which is really awkward, you want to get that back in the deck. So I'd go Special Cyber Dragon, normal Bestiary, Test Tiger, tag Bestiary into Secutor. I go probably Contact into Chimera Tech, Secutor attack first, and then Chimera Tech attack second, and then get 2 monsters and just be in a great spot because you have a wide board against a deck that only summons 1 weak monster per turn. Here comes the Cyber Dragon, here comes the Bestiary. Now he does have a similar idea to get the Bestiary back in the deck. He does make a serious misplay leaving this Cyber Dragon in play. Gadget eats it for free. So, yeah, pretty big misplay here. Also, not tagging out the Bestiary with the Test Tiger means you're not going to be able to pop this back row because your Bestiary can't tag into itself. Whereas if you Test Tigered it into Secutor, you could grab Bestiary, pop the back row, and then stay living, king. You know what I'm saying? So I think this is 2 critical errors here. Cyber Dragon not tagging into Chimera Tech, and Bestiary not getting tagged back into the deck for Secutor. Bestiary does get tagged back from Murmillo to pop the on Cyber Dragon, but like, this is a mess. This is a total mess. Look at the situation. Instead of having Chimera Tech plus 3 other monsters, you have a lone Murmillo, and you now have Test Tiger Prisma for follow-up, but your opponent has a live back row. So the Test Tiger's never going to get better now that this back row is here. It's never going to be good. Totally brutalized that last turn, unfortunately. Green Gadget does not search Red Gadget, Kappa. Green Gadget going to attack over the Murmillo. And then no additional back row gets set here, which is fine, I guess. This turn just activates Proving Ground. Tries to force the back row with Laquari, I believe. Yep, pretty safe. Here comes the Wind Blast, pitching Red Gadget. You have 2 of them. Not really worried about it. Starlight Road is set. Here comes Sack for Caius. Target the road. Attack for 24. And then set no back row. Now, I really don't like this from Anon because you have Caius in place, so they're going to have to make a play to clear the Caius. One of those plays is Book of Moon. Yes, Prisma Tiger does blow you out, but if they go for it, that means that you get a special summon Gores and a 2400 token. They're forced to tag into Murmillo and whatever else, but they can only pop 1 of your cards, and you still have 1 strong monster left over to defeat your opponent. So I don't like setting nothing here, because now they can just like Book of Moon, run over your Caius, and then you just look like a fool, and your position is really bad. I think setting 1 plays around as much as possible. You have redundancy in the extra Mirror Force, And if you're able to drop this Gores post Geyserist, you're actually just winning. Goes ahead and sends the Bestiari, tags the Test Tiger into Darius, gets back Bestiari, makes Geyserist, pops, attacks directly for 24. Now, lucky for Anon, his out to Stengo's out to Caius was Test Tiger Prisma. So he is still able to drop the Gores for full value and keep both his trap cards, but I think it's better to set one of them to play around Book of Moon, enemy controller, that kind of shit. Here, Stengo makes an illegal play, tags Geyserist into Bestiari. You actually can't do this. Geyserist cannot tag into Bestiari. That would be broken, obviously, because then you could just freely attack. Yeah, so you can't, except for Gladiator Beast Bestiari. So this is an illegal move. Good to read your cards, generally speaking. In any case, here comes Red Gadget Search. Set 3, set 2. Okay, fair enough. You don't need to set Deep Prison with the Mirror Force. I like this play from Anon. Here comes the Bestiari because there wasn't a shuffle. Compulsory is the draw. Generally speaking, Compulsory is pretty bad against the Gadget decks. I usually don't like to side it in here. Attacks with the Geyserist. It's going to get Mirror Forced. I actually think Mirror Force is better to use there because Phoenix Wing is chainable, and that's like higher value. Here comes normal Laquari. Pass the turn with the Compulse. Let's see what happens here. Switches the Red Gadget. See, this is a mistake. I think you just summon the yellow. Search green. Pitch green to the Wind Blast. Attack with both, and then you win the game. This is just generally a misplay. Because if you put on the pressure here and then you have 2 summon stops, Glads can't win. And he's at 44, so you have a 2-turn clock, or you're basically going to force him to use a removal spell on your monster. Since you're Wind Blasting the Laquari, pitching green, if they don't have Trap Stun, like let's say they have Chariot, you make their Chariot dead. Now this is a critical error from Anon here. I mean, you're winning the game if you just Wind Blast this Laquari, summon Yellow Gadget or whatever. You could even summon Yellow Gadget first to bait Chariot, but I think you can pitch your Deep Prison. You don't really need it. You have Bottomless. Here comes the Wind Blast on the attack, but you've lost all of your tempo advantage by doing that on your turn and forcing them to summon into your Bottomless again in order to take back the initiative. Plague being the draw. Plague is a terrible card against Glads. Not summoning it, not synchroing, just playing passively in general. Here comes Flip Murmillo, and this is the punish for switching your Red Gadget to defense and only having Bottomless for retail or whatever. Here comes the tag. This is going to grab Bestiari. It's going to pop the back row, but that's going to be chain Bottomless, and there's a compulsory chain. So now Anon goes from a winning position to a completely losing position by just like not playing his cards, more or less, in a proactive fashion. Just like giving the opponent free turns, giving the opponent initiative by switching the Red Gadget to defense position, not pressuring when you have the summon tempo advantage. And that's something that I want to kind of drive home here is when you have the summon advantage, you want to press your position with your positive tempo cards like Phoenix Wing, Wind Blast. That's when these cards like Compulsory and Phoenix Wing are at their best, is when you're up normal summons and you're up in terms of life advantage. When you can put your opponent in a position where they basically have to either counterplay you or defend their life total every single turn for the rest of the game. That's when you can put your opponent in a disadvantaged state that basically makes it so they have to play a certain way and you don't, which is really, really good for you, especially as the Gadget player. In any case, here comes the summon Laquari, post main, whatever. This is just a bad situation now. Deep Sea Diva is the summon. Effect gets activated to try and bait Chariot. There's no Chariot. Grabs Gilman in defense. This is a horrible play. Generally speaking, you want to grab this Gilman in attack position. Putting it in defense position is just silly. Like, because if you don't end up synchroning off with it, then, yeah, for some reason it gets left in defense position. Your board just gets destroyed. Again, I also do like making Stardust Dragon here. Stardust Dragon plays around a fair bit. You can also, in my opinion, make Thought Ruler Archfiend here, which is not bad either. So grabbing the Gilman in attack is not bad. You make Thought Ruler, you have Thought Ruler plus Gilman in attack, you run over the Laquari. They can't target it with anything like Compulsory, Deep Prison, that sort of thing, Book of Moon. You gain 1,800, which puts you at a solid 5,000. You attack directly for 17. Your opponent's taking, what, it's 2,600, dropping to 11, and then you've got to stop for them. You've got Deep Prison. So, yeah, I don't think that that's that bad. There's a bunch of different ways you could approach this turn, but yeah, here comes Bryonic. Bryonic's going to activate. This is really greedy, because if the back row is chainable, like Compulsory, or like Book of Moon, or like, what's the other card? Wabaku, then you just lose. And that's like a solid somewhere 6 to 8 trap cards that just fuck you over here. Also, like, Chariot, Chariot fucks you really hard here too. You could just be holding the Chariot for the Bryonic activation. Here comes the Waboku, chainable, punished on the Bionic. But now it's not too bad. He can flip the Plague, synchro off with the Gilman into Catastor, pop the Laquari with Catastor, and even though he's not dealing any damage, he's cleared the board, and it's on Stango to draw something else. Unfortunately, he makes choke of the game number 5, which is make Android forget that Waboku was just activated, attack the Laquari, and then shame concede. So this is a really interesting game. I like watching games like this because looking at what other people are doing and what other people are sort of, I don't know, looking at other people's mistakes helps me improve my gameplay, at least. I learn from like watching other people, and that's like, hold up, I got a cough. I'm going to mute my mic. Pardon me, guys. A lot of what where was I going with all this? I learn from watching other people, and that's part of our strength as human beings, is we can watch a match like this, and there's a million takeaways we can have. In any case, I messaged Stango afterward, and he was like, yo, you want to play some games? So we hop into some games. First things first, what did we learn from these matchups? Press your advantage. Press your advantage. If you have initiative, if you're playing against a deck like Gladiator Beast, Blackwing, something that's very normal summon reliant, and you have positive tempo trap cards, press your advantage. Activate your Phoenix Wing Wind Blast. Put their life total low. Put them at a situation where you can maybe steal the game later on. If you're at a neutral position, especially in these types of like aggro matchups, it's good to get super far ahead. It basically forces your opponent to play from a bad position for the rest of the game. A large part of Edison format Yu-Gi-Oh! Is positional gameplay. You're trying to set up for you having the best position and getting the most out of your cards. When you're in a situation like he was with the red gadget, you're throwing the game by switching your gadget to defense and not activating the Wind Blast there. If your Wind Blast gets trap stunned, oh well. I mean, like, that's not the end of the world. You still have, some level of protection. If you pitched your gadget, then whatever. If you want to play around trap stun, then you summon the gadget first and you search for green gadget. And then if you want to play around Chariot, you Wind Blast first. But I think you just don't play around Chariot. I think you just go for the press your advantage play and risk it, Risk it. You're already in a bad spot. Your opponent has cards on you. Your opponent has, stronger monsters than you. But, you have a shot at winning the game there. So something to look at. Okay, the first match I play against him, I load up my Diva hero deck. Now, normally when I'm playing against players for the first time, I'll load up just like a mid-tier deck or whatever, something that I think is fun and interactive like this, and just see where they're at. So for this game, he also loads up the Glad deck. We do play Glads versus Diva Hero, which I think is a cool matchup. I think it's a bad matchup for Diva Hero, just because like your cards, Phoenix Wing, don't do well into Trap Stun, and Diva and Caius, your power cards don't do well into Chariot. Chariot fucking owns this deck, so yeah. Here comes Laquari. We pick up Snowman. We have a lot of different options. I could set Snowman, set Dust. I could set Snowman, set 3, which plays into Bestiari, unfortunately. I end up just going for set Snowman, set 3, I think. But in hindsight, this is a misplay. I should have held my Mirror Force. The reason being is if he attacks with 2 monsters, I can actually Phoenix Wing one of the monsters and Snowman Eater pop the other monster after I dust their back row. The only issue is if the back row is Trap Stun. Now, if the back row is Trap Stun, I'm going to be looking at going for Mirror Force. They're going to Trap Stun, and then I'll be forced to chain Wind Blast on one of their monsters. Snowman will pop the other one, and we'll be in a bad spot, but at least we'll have initiative to make a Stardust next turn, or Tribute Summon Caius, depending on which I decide to keep off of the Wind Blast. In any case, they go to main 1, they summon Prisma, they activate Sending Bestiari, they tag into Geyserus, and I just sort of let this happen, because I don't really have a great way to interact with this. If I Phoenix Wing and they chain Trap Stun, I'm losing my whole board, which is really bad. So I go ahead and let this happen, the Geyserus happens, and I'm just hoping he goes for one of the back row that's chainable. He does. It is a 66% chance. So I chain the Dust, he chains Trap Stun, and I'm able to chain Wind Blast to remove the Geyserus. But we are losing our Snowman Eater, which is really bad. It means we won't be able to make Caius, or make Stardust, which is really bad. And now we're just down cards because we were forced to use our Wind Blast at a disadvantage. And the Geyserus was just really good because it traded for the Snowman, worst case. We pick up Solemn, which is okay. we're able to set that and pass. Now I want to set the Solemn and pass here because if they just summon a monster and attack, we Mirror Force. If they have Prisma Tiger again, I mean, we get fucked, but that forces them to have Prisma Tiger again. They go for Equest, Test Tiger, and this is pretty bad for us. If they tag into Bestiari, we just lose our back row. Thankfully, they tag into Darius, and then they go for Geyserus, which allows us to get our 2-for-1. Oh yeah, Bestiari was in the grave from the Prisma. I'm smoking crack. I don't even know what I'm talking about. Yeah, this just allows us to Solemn. This is why we just waited on the Solemn instead of stopping the normal. Now on our turn, we're able to summon the Diva. Well, we're basically forced to summon the Diva. This Wind Blast is dead. Unfortunately, we did draw multiple. My list plays, I think, 2, and we drew both of them. They're not great in this matchup. You'd much rather have something like Compulsory or Book of Moon, especially, would be very good in this matchup. But alas, here we are. Deep Sea Diva grabbed Gilman. We're able to attack with both. This plays around D-Prison a little bit. If they have D-Prison, they'll D-Prison one of our monsters, but at least we get to keep the other one as a life buffer. The extra 100 points of damage isn't going to matter too much here for us. We don't even Synchro because there's really no reason to. If we Synchro and they bottomless it, it's really fucking bad for us. And if we draw something like Sangan next turn, we'll be happy that we left him in play. We have Mirror Force to deflect a counter offense. Here comes Prisma Tiger, and we get owned. No, it's not Prisma Tiger. They just attack the Diva. We have Mirror Force, but they have the second trap stun, which is really tough. We're going to lose our Diva. Now, Gilman can trade for the Prisma, but we are still down cards, and Phoenix Wing is not doing us any favors. Gilman crashes with the Prisma. We lose to D-Prison here. Unfortunately, things didn't line up super well. Prisma's going to attack. We're going to take 17. No, we're going to Wind Blast it because we need a top deck, basically. We need a top deck something. We draw a Heavy Storm. You don't want to activate it here. And this is lesson number 2. This is going to come out throughout the match. Lesson number 2. Activate removal with purpose. Now, don't just play your removal spells, especially, I should specify, spell trap removal. Activate spell trap removal with purpose. Now, which one of these tabs is it? I think it's this tab. Okay. So if I just activate Heavy Storm here, I clear the back row. He top decks Prisma. Let's say he has another back row, right? Let's say his last card's another back row. I'm activating Heavy Storm before I have a chance to do something with a clear board. I have Malicious in the grave. I know his best attacker is Prisma. We can take a hit off of that. Next turn, if we draw a Tuner, or if we draw a Caius, or we draw some sort of conversion, and let's say his last card's another back row, we've waited on a Heavy Storm for the turn that we need a clear back row, basically. It's important to keep this in mind. Prisma gets summoned, we get attacked. On our next turn, we pick up Bottomless, which is unfortunate. We're basically forced to Heavy Storm here, use Malicious for defense. Now, we still have another turn where we can top deck something to stabilize. Bottomless can protect us from a further summon. They attack over the Malicious. Unfortunately, on the next turn, we pick up Space Typhoon, and we are not able to make any sort of counter offense happen this game. No Miracle Fusion top deck, no Lucky Future Fusion shenanigans, no Dark Armed, even though Dark Armed would have been dead here, no Stratos, no Rhoda, nothing. We had a lot of great top decks. We were 14 cards deep. We didn't really see anything too powerful, any of our power cards, and we just kind of lost this game, unfortunately. We go to the next game, and then this game kind of showcases why I think Glaz is pretty good in this matchup. Our opening hand is pretty bad. We're forced to go for Android, turn 1, gain 6, pass the turn. He draws, he summons Laquari, sets a couple back row, and passes the turn. Now, if I just pass the turn, I'm losing to Chariot. I could Brain Caius here, but I'd rather just do a main phase 2. I think I attack with the Android first. No, this is a bad play. I shouldn't do this. I should attack with the Android first, because you want to force the removal spell, and then I hold the Brain. Because if the removal spell is Book of Moon, then we sack the Android, and we go from there. Yeah, no, this was a misplay. In any case, this trades with the Book of Moon, which I'm pretty cool with. I'm able to run over the Laquari. That tells me that one of the back rows is Chariot, and one is probably something like Trap Stun, that sort of thing. Which makes me kind of happy, because I have Book of Moon, which plays through Trap Stun. So my position's actually not terrible. This little Treeborn's a little awkward. Caius, obviously awkward now, knowing that he probably has Chariot, but hey, what can you do? We know that the Android attacks are going to be connecting, so that's pretty much that. Summon Rediari, pass, and I'm like, okay. Well, I don't want to play too much into Mirror Force. I don't want to commit this Kaiku. I'll just attack the Rediari. I know it's going to connect. It does. And for him, summoning the Rediari at all is kind of a sus move, but you have to do it, basically. Because in the case that I just don't attack, or I activate a monster effect, you need to have that Chariot live. Anyway, We do not set the Treeborn here because I'm a bitch and don't know what I'm doing. I probably should have set the Treeborn here. All things considered, just getting him in the grave is good for us. Plus, if we can force the opponent to sort of play their Solemn Judgment, their whatever else, then, yeah. It didn't initiate the position that I wanted to initiate, and I probably should have set the Treeborn here. All things considered, it was probably a mistake that I didn't. Anyway, they set a new back row, they summon a quest. I draw for turn, and I'm like, what are the chances the new back row is a battle trap? I don't know, let's test it. We attack, it's compulsory. So he did find a nice little out to our Synchro Monster. Unfortunately, we have a couple of options here. We can normal summon Kaiku, but that's going to lose to any sort of Bestiary Prisma shenanigans. We could set Snowman Eater, but that's going to lose the Chariot that we know that they have. So we were pretty much forced to go for something. Evil Guy Caius, force the Chariot, and just hope we can do something this way. Here comes the Caius. I probably should have just summoned the Kaiku, or set the Snowman Eater. But yeah, I could have also set Treeborn Frog. There's a bunch of different ways I could have approached this turn. I think set Snowman's the best. They go for Geyserus, we chain Book, we put the Geyserus face down, and then Kaiku can run it over. Or Evil Guy Caius can answer it and then just like sort of win. Here comes the Chariot, which is going to negate the Caius. We knew about that Chariot, so it was a pretty stupid play on my part to just play into it like this. In any case, he goes for normal summon Darius, and he did pick up another Glad that can tag, which is pretty bad for us. So we're forced to book the Darius. Here's Solemn Judgment. I don't like this Solemn from him because forcing through this Darius attack doesn't really accomplish all that much. I guess it guarantees that you get the Chariot back, which is fine. I don't know. Anyway, here comes the Quest attack. Now, if we pick up a trap card here, we've actually stabilized. He goes for Ready Ari instead of Laquari. Ready Ari to banish the hero, keep us off Miracle. It's an okay play. But yeah, it's going to end up losing pretty hard to our Kaiku here because we just have stronger monsters. Quest's going to add back the Chariot, sets the Chariot. We pick up Diva. Now we just have a handful of fucking shitty normal summons that aren't doing anything. I think I messed up the last turn pretty hard by not setting the Snowman Eater. I think that would have been a much better way to approach this game and use my resources and establish the position that I wanted. Like I said, Edison format is very positional. The position that I would have wanted was him forced to use Geyserus, have a face-down Geyserus, no live Chariot, Chariot's still dead. I can go then summon Kaiku or Evil Guy or whatever, and then try to pop. Of course, we get blown out by Solemn Judgment, but, you get blown out by Solemn Judgment no matter what every time you play against Glad. Solemn Judgment is the best card in the Gladiator Beast deck. If you have it, you're at a strict advantage. We summon Kaiku, we attack over the Ready Ari. Can't afford to activate the effect, obviously, because the set card is Chariot, and they'll just be able to Chariot us. They do have Proving Ground for Bestie, which is going to make Geyserus pop the Kaiku. Attack us for 24. Put us in a really bad spot. Now, he could tag into double Ready Ari here if he wants to. Oh, no, he can't, actually. One Ready Ari's in the grave. Actually, both Ready Ari's are in the grave. Instead, he goes to Quest, and he goes Darius. Darius is going to allow him to make Heraclinos. And a Quest is allow him to have 2 negates with the Heraclinos. And this is just tough because he has Chariot Heraclinos with 2 negates, and our hand is all fucking monsters. There's really nothing we can do. Plus, one of the monsters he has can tag. So we've lost this game, pretty much. Next turn, he can initiate the Chariot loop. I asked him if there was anything he wanted to play versus, and specifically, he says, not particularly, just wanted to play Sean's deck. And I was like, it's pretty sweet. Apparently, Stango was talking to him during the tournament, and he was just 2-0ing people like crazy, which is super cool to hear. All right, we move on to the next game. The next deck I ended up loading was Wellie Dad. I really like this deck. I think this is one of the better decks in the format, and it plays really well to my playstyle. I think I do better with these types of decks than I do with decks like Diva Hero. Diva Hero, for me, it's frustrating because I think I draw like multiples of the cards, like Caius. I don't love drawing multiple Caius. It makes me sad, and it makes me frustrated, especially when one of them is dead, then all of them are dead, and good players will just keep them dead, basically. That last game told me a little bit about the way he likes to play as well, too. And I think Wellie Dad does pretty good in those types of situations. In any case, we go into the next game. Me with Wellie Dad, him with who knows. Could be Glads, could be something else. Okay, opening hand, we lose the die roll. Our opening hand's pretty weak, but thankfully our top deck is actually really strong, and he's set no back row. So he's got a set monster here. Could be anything. Don't really know what it is. Could be Hoplimist if he's still on Glads. Could be Raiko or something like that crazy. We got Foolish for Plague. We got Goblin Zombie. So you know we're going for the Revive King Hades. This motherfucker is absolutely beast mode in any matchup. Shout out Beast Mode. Check him out on YouTube. We're going to get the search with Goblin for Mizuki. That's going to give us a high quality pitch for Phoenix Wing. If our Revive King ever dies, we bring it back with Mizuki. And Revive King just goes ham against people who are like set monster, no back row. That means they're just fucked. We attack the set monster. We realize now that he's on Diva zombies. So we go ahead and set the Wind Blast. And Revive King in the mirror is fucking crazy. It's also nice that our Plague is banished. So he can't really abuse it. We can always get our Plague back later with Return once we find that. But I think this is a very nasty situation. He goes ahead and sets a back row. We pick up fucking perfect card, Typhoon. The cool thing about this deck is like you just always draw the nuts. And this deck is just so good. We go ahead and attack. Here comes Tragodia. I'm like, that's chill. I'm going to set a couple back row and pass. Now we could get pro-heavied here, which would be sad, but I'm big chilling. I'm not worried about this. Caius would suck. We could Phoenix Wing the Trag, but whatever. I think we're chilling. He goes ahead and attacks with Trag. We Mirror Force, pops the Trag. Special summon Cyber Dragon. We just let this shit happen. No, we don't. We Phoenix Wing it. He chains Torrential. Gets us pretty good with the Torrential Tribute here. But again, we're able to just Mizuki back our Revive King and like just hit for 1,000,000 next turn. So yeah, pretty good shit. I think he had a chance that game. I think that was a bit of a premature concession. But who knows? I don't know what was in his hand. I'd have to go back and check it out. Actually, you know what? Let's do that real quick before we move into the next game. Let's see what was in his hand. Because maybe that was a premature concession. Maybe we're adding another lesson to the lesson plan here. All right, let's show both hands. Goblin, Zombie, Plague. Okay. So, set Turtle, pass. Interesting opening. Yeah, keeping the strong Trag. You probably want to set Goblin, set Torrential here. But, yeah. Because Turtle shuts off your own Cyber Dragon, your own Trag anyway, if it resolves. So, yeah, you want to set Goblin, set Torrential. For sure. And then next turn you have a strong synchro play with Plague. If I do something passive like just set a monster. So yeah. Yeah, this is a mess up opening, I think. I think you just set Goblin, set Torrential. It's much stronger. Anyway. Stack, go for the Revive King. Synchro. Attack over the Pyramid Turtle. Again, play to the position. You want your cards to be live. If your cards are dead, they might as well be -1s. Anyway, Revive King clears. Mystic Tomatoes the draw. Sets back row. I should have maybe just Typhoon this. I don't know. Here comes the Trag. Set 2. Zombie Master. Interesting. Wait, what? Trag attacks. Mirror Force. Huh. Wait a second. Let me think about this for a second. Yeah, no, this was definitely a premature concession. You have Plague, you have Zombie Master, you can make a 6-star. Or at least you can force my last back row and get the info. Here comes Phoenix Wing, Chain Torrential. He still had a normal summon though. Yeah. He still had a normal summon there. And he wasn't just dead to the Revive King. He could have also just passed the turn and like seen what his top deck was. Because he has the reversal, which is Zombie Master, Plague, and then you make Goyo, and then Goyo steal Revive King, and then I'm the one in the bad spot. So I think that was a little bit of a premature concession. In any case, let's move on to the next game. We'll just show our hand again. Our opening hand this game is much, much better. We have one of the best cards in the mirror, Book of Life. We have our strongest starter, Elemental Hero Stratos. We've got Goblin Zombie, Foolish Burial. Foolish Burial is absolutely busted in this deck. Just turns on all your plays, basically. It can either be a Malicious or a Plague or whatever. Probably not going to be a Malicious because we got Stratos. But it could even send a zombie for us to activate our Book of Life. Here comes Allure of Darkness, one of the stronger draws. Banishes Gale, revealing that he is playing Gale. Now, Gale's an interesting card in the zombie decks. I, generally speaking, don't like it, but it is a decent Mystic Tomato target. It's just a lone set back row and a pass. I'm thinking, okay, let's try and get some damage in with this Stratos. Not Krevins. Let's try and get some damage in with this Stratos. Make it easier for us to OTK later on. I go Stratos, search Malicious. Attack for 18. Again, let's talk about rule number 2. Or not rule number 2, but what do we learn? Activate your spell trap removal with purpose. If we go back to this match, we don't activate Heavy Storm here because there's no reason to. If Stratos gets stopped by a bottomless trap hole, we got our +1. I'm happy if, with my hand, I'm happy if my Stratos is trading for bottomless trap hole. That means I still have Heavy Storm to clear for the turn I go for a push. And if not, then, you know what? Whatever. I'm happy if the Stratos trades for it. Because there's no real reason to heavy storm to try and Stratos here. I'm trying to put this in words. I'm not really speaking very concisely on this matter. But basically, I'm happy if it trades with it. If it does, then I still have Heavy Storm for my big Book of Life turn later on. Anyway, we get in the 18, which is just phenomenal. That's very good for us. Able to deal a little bit of pressure, or deal a little bit of damage, make our OTK a little bit easier. Here comes Brain Control, which is kind of gross. We could get poked by a Reaper here, but a Reaper wouldn't be too bad. Actually, pretty solid hits for us in Goblin, Zombie, Malicious, and Krebins. So it's a 50-50 shot that Reaper actually ends up helping us out a little bit. Instead, it's a Diva summon. He gets another Diva, attacks us with all of them, plays around Gores. This is a smart play. I like this play from him. Because if I do have Gores, then you can just make like Bryonic and then like do some other shit. Synchros into Gaia Knight into Stardust. Now here, we are able to go for Heavy Storm. Unfortunately, he does have Stardust. He's able to negate it. But fortunately for us, we can Foolish Goblin Zombie and then Book of Life, banish the Stardust, and then sack it for Caius. Hopefully clear both back row and go from there. Activates Foolish. This doesn't get stopped. Thankfully for us, he doesn't have DD Crow. That would be crushing here. It wouldn't be too bad because we'd still banish the Stardust, but we wouldn't be able to make much of a counter offense here. Sack for the Caius, target the middle back row, banishes a Space Typhoon, and then searches Zombie Master. Now, Zombie Master is going to be really good for us. If Plague ever happens, we can OTK him off of his own Plague. So he'll have to banish his own Plague if he ever wants to summon it. Diva's already gone, so that means his only synchro play, his only big play. It's lagging here. I'm not letting me open the graveyard. But yeah, his only big play is Plague Spreader, and he's going to be forced to banish it if he wants us to continue doing whatever. Because we have Zombie Master. Caius gets in even more damage, making this threat of lethal omnipresent, basically. Pass the turn. Here comes Cyber Dragon. Here comes his own Caius. This is a pretty big reversal moment. We're going to take a huge amount of damage here. But he elects not to attack to play around Gores. I think you just attack here. I don't really think that you put me on having Gores. In general, I don't play Gores in this deck. I think it's like kind of a mediocre option. It's a little bit too reactive. In any case, we pick up one of our best draws, which is Dark Grepher, and this is why Dark Grepher is so strong in this deck. It just lets you make multiple plays per turn into your opponent's back row. We pitch the Mali, special the Grepher, activate the Grepher, pitching Goblin, sending Plague. Now we can make another play this turn. Well, technically we can make another 2 plays this turn, but we can't kill particularly from this spot. Here comes Malicious, here comes the Torrential, which is pretty good. The Torrential's pretty good. However, if I'm him, I wait for the tuner to hit play. As it stands, Malicious and Grepher on their own, not doing anything against Caius, the Shadow Monarch. So you wait for the tuner to hit play, then you get the 3-for-2 Torrential. So this is a little bit of a preemptive removal here. Probably just wait for the tuner. There's no reason not to. In any case, we're still able to normal. We normal Krebins, and this is why Krebins is so good. He can't really press past Krebins. Brain Control is gone. He would need something like Book of Moon or Mind Control if he is playing Mind Control. I know this deck definitely should be playing Mind Control. I don't know if it is or not. But yeah, Krebins is pretty good at pressing here. And now that we pick up Rhoda, we could do a couple of different things. We could Rhoda for a monster, pitch for Plague, bring out whatever, Synchro, or pitch for Goblin Zombie, whatever, Synchro, and then go for game that way. But I think the safest way to go for game is actually just Rhoda for the guy, normal summon Zombie Master, Synchro into Bryonic. We know he doesn't play Battle Fader because the zombie deck doesn't play Battle Fader, and then we're able to go for game. So this was a really interesting game. I think that Torrential, while it may seem innocuous, if he had just waited for the tuner, he probably would have been in a much better spot, all things considered. So yeah, definitely just wait for the tuner. We had Plague Engrave, which was a little bit scary, but he didn't have a great way to convert off of that being the case. These battle recruiters, and these recruiters, not the best when you have a million of them. They kind of bog down your summon. They don't let you do stuff from nothing in play. They basically force you to play passively when you have nothing in play, and it's a little bit awkward. Even though he did miss the attack with the Caius, and he could have attacked here again with the Tomato into our Krebins, forcing another 800, it still wouldn't have been enough damage to really pressure us. And I think these more aggressive builds of the zombie deck are a little bit more tuned to deal with the mirror match because they don't really care about the recruiters that much. So that was the second match we played, and then I was like, yo, let's play a third match. Fuck it up. So for the third match, I decided to bring the Dragon deck that you know and love. This is a deck that I play all the time. I've made a few changes. I cut the Smashing Ground, and I added 2 copies of Compulsory Evacuation Device. And then in the sideboard, I added Rhoda because I noticed in a lot of matchups, I just really want DD Warrior Lady. I might end up moving the Rhoda to the main deck. I don't know. I'm not sure on it yet. I haven't figured out which part I would cut. And I feel like DD Warrior Lady is only like really, really good against like Blackwings and Zombies, which are obviously the two most popular decks. But definitely want to consider maybe putting the Rhoda into the main deck. It is something I added to the side. And then I also added Double Royal Oppression to the side as well as the third compulsory. I've been really happy with Compulsory Evacuation Device in the meta. I think it's really good, especially in decks like this where you're like trying to press your advantage or you have DD Warrior Lady. I think it's like one of the best cards at protecting DD Warrior Lady. Anyway, let's hop into the game. You know, if you guys like this stuff, go ahead and like and subscribe. And also join the Discord, the really big Yu-Gi-Oh! Discord in the description below. There's a RBET this weekend. If you want to play in a really big Edison tournament, test your skills, play one of these decks that you're seeing on camera here. Come have some fun. Come play with the lads in the Discord and the other people in the Discord. Anyway, we win the die roll. Very lucky. Very, very lucky. Go ahead and draw our hand. Opening hand's not bad. We have a million ways we could play this hand, but it kind of goes south real quick. You'll see. I'm not sure if this is the correct play, setting the Totem Dragon and doing all this shit. We see another set monster, set back row. I pick up Drago, and I'm like, fuck, yeah, that's super good. I got Road, I got all the stuff. I'm going to summon the Drago, I'm going to flip the boy, I'm going to play into Force. Turtle into Turtle's annoying, but not much you can do about it. And then once the Turtle's gone, he can't float into anything else because all the other targets are dark. Pardon me one more time, I got a cough again, sorry. All right, we're back. In any case, we got Book, we got Deep Prison. I'm like, what could possibly go wrong? End phase reveal White Knight, because that's most likely what we're going to be playing next turn. Here comes Brain Control. And this is what goes wrong. Brain Control. Card's really good. And this is why I like Compulsory too. Protects you from Brain Control. Now, worst case scenario. We are getting fucked by Caius. But best case scenario. He just goes to the battle phase and then tries to kill Drago in the end phase. In which case we can book it and it can survive. So, switches the Pyramid Turtle, attacks, we deprison the Pyramid Turtle. Because I need to maintain this Totem Dragon so I can summon the White Knight next turn and really, really press my position. And also so I can keep my Drago around through Mirror Force. Now, I can't play around him having Caius. Unfortunately, Caius is going to own me 10 times out of 10. There's nothing I can do about it. I could have booked my Drago to play around it, but then he can special summon dark monsters, and all of a sudden things start going downhill. If I book my Drago, I'm losing to Caius anyway. He just sacks the Pyramid Turtle, Caius target the Drago, or Caius target the Totem, and my whole position falls apart. So I'm playing around what I can play around, which is him not having Caius and just using the Brain Control to kill the Drago. I deprison the Pyramid Turtle, protect my Totem, and then I book the Drago. And I'm thinking, okay, end phase, I get my Drago back, and then next turn, as long as he doesn't have like Spirit Reaper specifically or Caius specifically, we're good to go. Unfortunately, he has Dust Tornado to clear our last back row, and he has Caius the Shadow Monarch, and we lose this game. So, pretty big worst case scenario for us. Not being Mystic Tomato as the set, not being Goblin Zombie as the set. Obviously, it was Pyramid Turtle, which is the worst one possible for us when we summon Drago like that. And then, of course, having Brain Caius as like one of the very few outs this deck actually has to a resolve Drago. We pick up another Wyvern, which isn't going to do shit for us. They mill a DD Warrior Lady to add insult to injury with Goblin Zombie, killing our Totem Dragons. And I just concede because there's not really much we can draw from that position. We have to kill Goblin Zombie. Goblin Zombie can search Zombie Master. And we just kind of lose, I think. Maybe not. Maybe we would have been fine if we topped Red Men. Again, don't prematurely concede. Maybe that should be rule number 3. All right, we'll put that as rule number 3. Don't prematurely concede. I didn't do it in the first match where I was using Malicious defensively, but I might have done it there. In any case, this game, we get to go first. We open Dust Shoot. Can't complain. We have DD Warrior Lady 2, which is really good. So we just summon DD Warrior Lady, set Dust Shoot, set Deep Prison. Now, a lot of people are saying, like, oh, why summon DD Warrior Lady here? You're just giving them an opportunity to attack into it with something. Yeah, true, but they could attack into it if it was set anyway. Also, if it's face up, I can play around Bottomless on the next turn by not having to flip summon it. And I think that just comes up a fair bit more, especially because if they have Bottomless, they're definitely siding it in against Dragons. So I want my DD Warrior Lady to stick around. We go for Trap Dust Shoot. We get to reveal their hands. And their hand's actually pretty slow here. We didn't set the Royal Oppression, unfortunately, so it's going to force us to take this Caius the Shadow, or Cyber Dragon, I think. I don't remember what we take here. Huh. Unfortunately, we didn't set Royal Oppression. We probably should have set Royal Oppression instead of Deep Prison, or just set both. But this Cyber Dragon's a little bit of a mix-up for sure. Now, I don't, in general, like a lot of these cards in this matchup. I think Mystic Tomato is pretty bad against dragons. I think Cyber Dragon's pretty bad against dragons because when you're losing the game, it's because they have Drago in play. And these cards do absolutely nothing against Drago. And then Gores, I also really don't like against dragons because, again, when you're getting attacked, it's because they have Drago. And Gores is never going to be live against the dragon deck in a way that's meaningful, especially because Red Eyes Darkness Metal Dragon, our premier boss monster, just attacks over Gores anyway. So we'll just play around it by attacking with weaker monsters. You ever drop the Gores, we'll run over your Gores with the Red Eyes, and you're just in a bad spot. So I think these three cards are definite side outs. If you have stuff to bring in, Tomato, Cyber Dragon, and Gores are definitely cards you should consider. Maybe Cyber Dragon's not so bad because you can pump out a Caius in certain situations where I don't have Drago, but Mystic Tomato and Gores for sure are pretty bad. Go ahead and take the Cyber Dragon because I have to. Shuffle it back. And our position's actually pretty bad here. Low key, because they can just set a Battle Recruiter. We're forced to DD Warrior Lady it because they have Caius. And we picked up Compulsory, which isn't great. We set 2 and pass. We know they don't have Heavy. He draws Trag. I probably shouldn't show the hands now. We know Gores, we know Tomato, we know Caius, and we know Dark Armed. So Gores, Dark Armed, Caius. Caius is the threat. Gores, Dark Armed, we can just ignore for the time being. We have Oppression for when that shit starts to happen. Here, thankfully, he does attack with the Mystic Tomato. Now, had he just set the Mystic Tomato, he would have been able to stick a Caius, hit one of our back row, put us kind of in an awkward spot. It would have been a 33% chance to hit the Compulsory, which would have been nice. But yeah, this is good for us that we were able to utilize our Deep Prison effectively before he tops something like Heavy Storm and banishing a card that could have been tribute fodder for Caius. Goes ahead and draws a card, sets monster. We find Bottomless, which is pretty good. We just set it and pass. Now it's a 66% that Caius hits something bad. He goes for sack Caius. And of course, he does hit the Royal Oppression. Gets us with the 1 out of 3, which is really unlucky because Royal Oppression would have been insane in this position. But all things considered, we have Bottomless. He's only got 1 dark for Dark Armed. He's got Gores. He's got a pretty passive hand. He's not really doing anything. And we can just play Drago for a little bit. Drago definitely favors the Dragon deck because eventually I'm going to hit Drago and you're not going to be able to beat it. We find Deep Prison. I say fuck it. If you got Heavy, you got Heavy. We got Book of Moon for later in case the Heavy Storm does happen. And if he does have Heavy Storm, that means he has Gores, Dark Arm. He doesn't really have a great way to make a push after that. We find Royal Oppression. I'm like, fuck yeah, I'm going to set that shit too. Fuck it up. He does end-phase Dust Tornado. So let's go back to our what did we learn today? Now, of course, he gets lucky and does pick off the 1 back row that is a Royal Oppression. But I do like activating spell and trap removal with purpose. If he had just waited with this Dust Tornado, he could have done some more stuff with it. Maybe even forced the Royal Oppression and then Chain Dust Tornado, gotten 800 damage out of it. You've seen Royal Oppression. You know my deck plays Future Fusion. Dust Tornado is a high-value card in this matchup, right? So you definitely want to wait to use it. Using it blind into 3 back row is just like not the move, in my opinion. You could just be hitting something that's like a bluff knock or something. In any case, hits the Royal Oppression. Definitely what you would have wanted to hit there, but again, I do preach that you should use your spell and trap removal with purpose. If you're just using spell and trap removal and then passing the turn, you're giving me an opportunity to just set another spell and trap, and all of a sudden you've taken no advantage of the fact that I have low interaction in play. He just sets back row and passes the turn. We pick up Solemn, which is awesome. We can insulate this from a further Dust Tornado because we held our Book of Moon. So we set the Book of Moon and the Solemn Judgment. Now it's a 25% chance of him hitting the Solemn. He goes for return. We have to Solemn this. Thankfully, we did draw Solemn. If he had saved the Dust Tornado, I would have gone for Royal Oppression. He would have chained Dust, and then we would have Solemn the Dust, but we would have been at a lower life total. A. B, we would have been stuck with Royal Oppression face up, which actually probably hurts us more than it hurts him, all things considered. In any case, we Solemn that, pass the turn, pick up Mass Dragon. Now we know about the Gores, can't afford to attack into it. We're just going to set the Mass Dragon and pass. He goes for set back row pass. Now that he has a set back row, we can flip the Mass Dragon. And because we have 2 compulsories, I'm pretty happy just using my compulsory to trade with this Torrential Tribute and save my Mass Dragon. The Mass Dragon's pretty high value here. It gives us access to red med when we need it. So I'm going to set it again, though, because I just want to protect my life total. Being at 4,000 is pretty low. And I'm going to set compulsory because, fuck it, you don't have Heavy Storm. And if you do, then you don't have the material ready to push. Here comes a Plague activation. I do say okay, and here comes like a little bit of a contentious moment. If you're in a tournament and you activate Plague, I'm going to say, okay, then that's it. That's the interaction. Plague has to get summoned. You can't take it back from that point. The only point you could take it back from is if I hadn't said okay yet. If I didn't say okay yet, then you could probably, convince your opponent to let you resequence thing, especially in like a friendly game like this. But because I said okay, it does actually change the course of the game now that he knows that I'm letting Plague resolve. So because he knows I'm letting Plague resolve, it definitely changes things. It complicates things. So he makes Plague happen, and then he just passes the turn. And then I'm like, all right, well, a little bit of a missequencing error there from him as well. I go ahead and flip the Mass Dragon, just attack over the Plague Spreader, pass the turn. We pick up Red Eyes Wyvern, which is good. I do want to hold it, though, in the case that our board gets swept away like this from Lightning Vortex. That's going to happen. We don't need a chain book here or anything because I prioritize my interactive pieces, knowing that he has Dark Arm Dragon. If he tries to set that up, I'd rather have my chainable stuff set than have my Mass Dragon still be in play face down, where it can be lost to the Dark Arm Dragon activation. Here I just set Red Eyes Wyvern because we did pick up another dragon. I just want to protect my life total again from being poked by something like a Mystic Tomato or whatever. Here comes Cyber Dragon. Here comes Gale. Now this could do a lot of different stuff. I think the best play here is just not summon the Gale. Just special the Cyber Dragon and attack the set monster. I think it's the best play. Bait the back row a little bit more. Here comes a Synchro for Colossal Fighter, because Dark End can't be made with Cyber Dragon because it's a light. But we've got Compulsory, we've got Deprison, we've got plenty of ways to answer this. I do end up using the Deprison because, again, I want to keep both of my chainable back row in the case that Dark Arm Dragon does hit play. Now that we've drawn double Red Med plus a Dragon, we have lethal through Gores because we have Compulsory, and this is why Compulsory is so powerful in this deck. We're able to flip the Red Eyes Wyvern, banish the Exploder, special Red Eyes Darkness Metal, special out the Mask from our graveyard, banish that, special the Red Eyes Darkness Metal. Wyvern attack directly. He has to drop Gores here. I can attack over the Gores with the Red Med, compulse the token, and attack directly with Red Eyes Darkness Metal Dragon. Now, the best play to make there, which I didn't make, is to attack the token first, then compulsory the token, and then a replay occurs for Red Eyes Darkness Metal to attack directly. That plays around Battle Fader, which is something I should have done, but I would have messed that up in that turn. So that's a trick you kind of want to learn. When the replay occurs, it's like after declaration or something, so they can't Battle Fader. So that's something to keep in mind, which I should have kept in mind in that instance. This hand is actually pretty fucking solid. We got Royal Oppression, which is a house in this matchup. We got a way to summon Red Med. We got a floater. We got knock for any sort of stupid recruiter shit. And then we got compulsory, which is just a house against zombies in general. So our hand's just the nuts, basically. Tomato gets summoned, but that's fine. A little bit awkward. Plays around knock. Smart play summoning it. I actually like that a lot. Plays around torrential. Plays around knock. Very, very intelligent stuff. We do have Exploder Dragon, so we can just go trade, which is nice. Nice little trade for us. I think just clearing that guy out of play is good. So we end up getting pretty lucky topping Exploder Dragon there. The attack position Mystic Tomato would have been kind of annoying had we not topped a way to clear it, because it represents Caius, represents a few other things. If we crash into it with Mass Dragon, gives him an opportunity to get Goblin Zombie. Goblin Caius is really bad for us. So yeah, overall pretty happy with the way things went. I set compulsory. I hold the Royal Oppression. I noticed in the previous games he's just gunning his spot removal. Again, back to rule number 2. Activate spell trap removal with purpose. Don't just blind do it, especially in matchups like this where you know I have Royal Oppression. You know I have Future Fusion. You know I potentially even have Rivalry of Warlords. So holding your Dust Tornado for those high impact back rows is very important. And then trying to bait the low impact back rows with your openers is how you should be playing these sort of circumstances. Here comes the Spirit Reaper. Now, this is pretty good for him. He does get to connect with Spirit Reaper. Did he top deck that Spirit Reaper? I don't know. In any case, we're going to lose one of our cards here, which sucks. We lose Red Eyes, which is fine. Honestly, it's probably the worst card in our hand compared to like all our other stuff that's going on. He sets another background passes, and we pick up Future Fusion. And that's the fucking punish, man. Like, you spend your Dust Tornado because you want to get greedy with a Spirit Reaper attack. Now, here's the thing, right? If you don't Dust Tornado my back row and you just tag me with Spirit Reaper, are you happy that your Spirit Reaper is trading for the back row? Probably. Honestly. Rather than having it trade for like a random card in my hand, you're probably happy that it's trading for that sort of thing. Now, I sided out one totem, so my send is going to end up being triple Red Eyes Wyvern, Darkness Metal, and Drago, because I do want to have access to Drago. And then I also want to have triple Wyvern to sort of like start playing this game. Obviously, Future Fusion is a Gigasack card, but it's our first time drawing it this match. It's eventually going to happen, you know. There's like a solid percentage chance that you see it between this and like Gold Sarks and shit. So we go ahead and set our back row, and then we make 2 Red Eyes Darkness Metals in defense position. He's not really in a spot to make a synchro that really punishes this. He can't really make Bryonic that easily. Spirit Reaper's level 3. It's kind of awkward. He doesn't have a zombie engraved to Book of Life. It's just an awkward position for him. Now, Diva's annoying, but we have Royal Oppression, and the Dust Tornado we know is gone because our Future Fusion resolved. So we're actually just big chilling. Spirit Reaper's annoying, but Drago always favors our deck because we are going to inevitably find a DD Warrior Lady or a compulsory evacuation device. We're going to be able to clear the Spirit Reaper, clear the back row, and then kill through everything. So that's going to be the circumstance. Sets a monster. We pick up Bottomless, which is quite nice just to have like an extra summon stop in the case that he is able to put together like a Goyo Guardian or something annoying. We go ahead and knock the Mizuki. I make an error here. I Red Eyes back the Exploder Dragon. This is something that is like extra insurance. But in all honesty, I probably shouldn't have done this. I probably should have just waited. Because he didn't really do anything on the last turn, so there's a chance he's just not going to do anything on this turn. But my thought process was have that extra piece of defense in case he is able to put together something crazy. Go ahead and set the Bottomless 2 as well. I bring back Drago, but then I realize this is a mistake because I actually want my 5-head to come back on the next turn. Thankfully, Drago has the option to just jump back into the graveyard in the end phase, so we go for that. Also, it's kind of nice because it chump checks his back row. If he has Bottomless, he's probably using it on the Drago there. Goes ahead and sets another back row. We pick up Heavy Storm, and now I'm like super free for Drago. I go ahead and get the 5-headed dragon out, and then pass the turn. We pick up Drago. Eventually, we're just going to win this game the second we find an out to Spirit Reaper. And we play several. I think I also boarded in the Rhoda. So we have at least 4 copies of DD Warrior Lady and a copy of Compulsory Evacuation Device, which is going to work well. So we have 5 outs to it. We're like, what is that? 20% chance to draw one. Goes ahead and sets another back row, pick up Deep Prison. Go ahead and sets another monster. We pick up Dust Shoot, which is amazing. We're going to be able to get a good look at his hand here. I go ahead and Dust Shoot. And this is very nice because I think he did pick up the Caius. I couldn't really tell. But we are able to take this Caius here, which is very nice. Now we know his other cards are Deep Sea Diva, Book of Life, Cyber Dragon. All these get stopped by Royal Oppression. And we do now know about this Torrential Tribute, so we are going to be gunning Heavy Storm the second we want to go for our big push. We take the Caius. We go ahead and just... we know that that's a Torrential Tribute. One thing he probably should have maybe done was not set it there. There's no real reason to set it unless you're thinking you need to sweep my board. But I don't know. It's not bad. It's not a bad situation. In any case, we just play Drago again. Pass the turn. We know we're going to end up Heavy Storming, so there's no point in setting Book or Deep Prison here. He goes ahead and flips Pyramid Turtle, activates Torrential, which is, you know, fair enough. You clear all my big monsters. Thankfully, we do have a Wyvern down. We'll be able to bring back Red Eyes at least one more time because of our Heavy Storm. And we have Royal Oppression to stop anything he really wants to go for this turn. Goes for the Book of Life. We Royal Oppression. And he does not have an out. Just double Deep Prison Skill Drain. So again, don't activate your spell and trap removal without purpose. It really matters. Everything in this game hinged on him not saving this Dust Tornado. Everything in this game. If he had just saved this Dust Tornado for the appropriate card, if he had recognized the cards that kill him, which are Future Fusion and Royal Oppression, then he would have just saved the Dust Tornado. You can trade 1-for-1 all day with zombies into back row. You can attack your Spirit Reaper into Deep Prison all day. That's just going to activate your Book of Life later on. That's just going to activate your Zombie Masters later on. It's going to activate your Dark Arm later on. All of that stuff. Mizuki is going to become a live card after that. You don't mind your Spirit Reaper swinging into back row. That being said, you do mind when you're going for a push and you don't have Dust Tornado to play through Royal Oppression, or I'm activating my auto-win Painful Choice card that loses to Dust Tornado. So something to keep in mind here. Okay, we pick up another Mass Dragon, and I'm like, all right, Drago just wins, so I'm just going to Heavy Storm Drago and have 2 back row, and that's going to be that. Here comes the Drago, attack for 19. Set 2 back row pass, reveal Mass Dragon. He draws another copy of Skill Drain. Again, this is why Cyber Dragon is quite bad. Deep Sea Diva without Gilman can't do anything here, and even with Gilman, you can't make Catastro or Android, so you'd have to be extra decking Gashilnadon, which is just going to get destroyed by Deep Prison. We're going to swing for 19. Skill Drain with Gores. Again, you got to side out Gores in this matchup, especially if you're bringing in Skill Drains. Skill Drain plus Gores is like the ultimate, like, shit. You know what I mean? It's the ultimate, like, damn, this sucks. Gores is just incredibly bad against the Dragon deck. They're never attacking you unless they have Drago in play. So it's just always going to be dead. And if your way of outing Drago or dealing with Drago is skill drain, sure, maybe the Cyber Dragon makes sense, but Gores definitely doesn't make sense because you're never going to have skill drain in play and be able to activate Gores. So that's pretty much that. We attack for another 19. Set the Master Dragon. Now, Torrential's gone, but Mirror Force is not, and I don't really want to play into that shit. So I reveal the other Master Dragon, kind of mix him up on what's set here. I don't set the Royal Oppression because I kind of want to save it in the case that he does find Heavy Storm. End phase, he goes for skill drain, which is pretty good. He's able to special summon Cyber Dragon, normal summon Deep Sea Diva. Now, I don't really understand this normal summon Deep Sea Diva shenanigans, but if the Cyber Dragon resolves, then that's really all you need. You can kind of just hold the Diva in case I clear the skill drain. There's no real reason to play it here. Goes ahead and activates in case we have some sort of crazy shenanigans. We just deprison the Cyber Dragon here, and he has smashing for the Drago, but that doesn't really matter. We're able to summon the Masked and attack. I think we just set compulsory. No, we set both when we bring out Red Eyes. Yeah, I guess the idea was he would have to draw Heavy Storm plus have a 1-card way to clear our board, which would be Heavy Storm plus last card Chaos Sorcerer. And he doesn't have a light. So, yeah. I think that was the thought process there. And we end up winning. So a little bit of a misboarding and a little bit of an error here not holding this Dust Tornado for the cards that actually matter. And that's what's going to cost you the game against this Dragon deck. You make one small error and then it just kills you. It just kills you. Drago will always favor the Dragon deck. It's so good with card advantage. If you give them like 3-4 extra cards, they can put together some of the dumbest OTKs. In any case, GG's to Stango. Shout him out. Check him out on Twitch. Check him out on Twitter. Follow the man. He does play a lot of Melee. I know a lot of you guys watch Melee. I know a lot of you guys enjoy that sort of thing. And, of course, check out the RBET this weekend. Hopefully this video was educational. I don't know if we got a 4th rule in there. What is the 4th rule? Oh, yeah. Side out Gores versus Dragons. Exclamation marks. That's the 4th rule. Okay, cool. Yeah. Press your advantage. Activate spell trap removal with purpose. Don't prematurely concede. You saw me do it. You saw Stango do it. You saw everybody else is prematurely concede. Everybody's done this, right? But just don't do it. Just play out the game till the end, especially in like tournament settings, that sort of thing. And then side out Gores versus Dragons. See you guys in the next vid. Peace.